We've got no sound from you guys. Can you hear us? So we'll carry
Well,
on
yeah.
chatting. So good afternoon and welcome to Together to Unlocked, the TV show from Together, together2012.org.uk. We are hopefully being able to start our show properly with all the guests speaking. Could you just say something to us, Ju?
Yes, I'm Ju Gosling. Sorry about that. Artist and co host of Together Unlocked. We'll let you continue to do some introductions in the West Midlands and also some audio description and then come back to the studio in London.
Okay, fantastic. So I'm not going to tell you what I'm wearing yet because that would spoil the next bit of the show. But I'm Robin Surgeonator. I am the business director of Together 2012. Uh, I am 56 for just a little bit longer. Um, and I've got hair of a 25-year-old, honestly. And just, yeah, actually, the colouring, I look like I've been sunbathing, which is really weird because it's been, as I were discussing just prior to the show, thunder and lightning all week. Maybe I got burnt. Over to you.
Thanks. I'm Josh Surgeonator. I'm also one of the hosts of Together TV and a PhD research student we are allowed out of our houses. Even though he claims to have the hair of the 25-year-old, it's white hair on a white background. He's not bald, even though it does kind of exaggerate the receding hairline that's appearing on the stream.
Shut.
And I do have the hair of the
Change.
25-year-old, or almost 25-year-old, which is kind of long, messy blonde hair. And I'm wearing a green and gold shirt that has two kind of geometric lions on either side, and a logo in the middle that says London Raw. Because I am dressed to go to an international swimming league meet, and they are a team in the international swimming league.
So that's a good time to bring up the fact that as it's Friday, we're dressing up to go out to stay in for any trip, real or imaginary, because hey, we're staying in anyway, but it's a great excuse to dress up. So tell me a bit more about where you're going, Josh, and then Robin.
There is something called the International Swimming League, which is a professional competition for swimming. And this is the team shirt of one of the teams that compete that are based in London. So when I went to the aquatic centre in November to watch it, I spent an inordinate amount of money on a t-shirt. So
What do you
yeah,
mean you spent?
well,
Anyway,
so to show my support for the team. So yeah, in anticipation of that hopefully coming back soon, I've put on my London Royal t-shirt, so I'm ready to go and shout in the stands.
And is
Yeah.
that the aquatic centre just up the road in Newham in Queen Elizabeth Olympic Park or one
It
close
is.
to you?
Yes,
It is.
it was indeed. It looked
Fantastic.
very cool.
Drop in for a cup of tea, Josh. Drop in.
You should have done.
Oh, I'm sure we messaged. And it's. I mean, I got to say, just go back to that. I mean, the venue is reasonably accessible. You know, there's not enough lifts in it, but actually, the way it was produced and done was really accessible. It was fantastic, and we had completely awesome seats. Actually, I mean, obviously the swimmers have the best seats, but in terms of audience, we had really, really good, accessible seats, and yeah, it was all really good. So
My experience has been a bit mixed, actually. I think we got, I mean, not that I'm knocking it, we got offered free tickets. I think, was it one of the World Diving? Back in about 2014-15, but we discovered that the wheelchair accessible spaces were right at the top, which was the furthest possible point from where all the action was going on. And if you've got middle-aged eyesight, that's not terribly easy to access, and also by the time you get to the very top of the building it is very, very, very humid, so we weren't rushing to go back. So it's good to know that people have had better experiences. Robin, am I right in thinking you're dressed up for the same reason I am? Because if so, I shall go on to Julie next.
yes, I am.
Julie, what are you? Who are you, Julie? What are you? What are you dressed up to do today?
I'm Julie. I'm Julie Newman. I'm the chair of Together 2012. I'm sporting a green and white bandana covering little tantalizing glimpse of gold and silver hair peeping out with I've got dark rimmed glasses, and I'm wearing a blue t-shirt which some people might remember from last week, which is three hairs locked together in a Celtic knot. I'm going to Stonehenge. I'm going to the Solstice Festival. I'm going to watch the sunrise on Sunday morning with all the druids. I'm going to have a whale of a time. This is why I've got my little kerchief on my head, to just show you that it's a proper festival and I'm a proper festival goer. Um, and I just at some point I'd like to pick up the swimming centre in the Queen Elizabeth Park, because I was there during the Paralympics as well. And I thought it was fantastic. I was really thrilled with it, partly because I'd also been part of the group that had advised on the access. So I think on the day it worked very well. But they changed the actual environment of the aquarium post 2012. They took some parts of it out, and they took some parts down, so it actually became a different building, oddly enough. But during the 2012 Paralympics, which is when I went, I thought it was fantastic, and I had such a wonderful time.
So, on that happy note, let us hand back to Robin. I can see my schedule for today is going completely out of the window, but that's fine. So, Robin, where are you dressed up to go out to stay in?
So I am wearing, unusually for me, long sleeves, but it's a gig shirt. So it's a probably what you describe as an army green or a forest green full length shirt with palm trees on it. And obviously, palm trees very much representative of gigs in the Midlands. We usually gather around some oasis or other, or perhaps it's a mirage. But this evening, yeah, I mean, I'm going out to a festival which we're going to talk a little bit more about later. But that is it, yeah. So it's a lovely green long sleeve t-shirt. It isn't. It's a proper button-up shirt. See, I'm so unused to wearing them. With a what are they called? Button-down pockets on either breast.
Well, it looks extremely smart. And in keeping with that colour, I have particularly short tenured red hair because I took the dog's clippers to it earlier in the week. And I'm wearing a green t shirt with two nuns DJing. I've also got black rimmed glasses. My hands are in black splints. I've got silver jewellery and I'm in my late 50s. And I'm going to go to the same event as Robin. But to tantalise you a bit further, we will just park that for a moment and pick up a couple of the topics we were discussing earlier in the week. And in particular, Wednesday's We Shall Not Be Removed Day of Action on social media. It was an incredibly successful day. What artists were asked to do, and also companies, was to post work of, well, post pictures of current work or past work, and just talk a little bit about it and use the hashtag We Shall Not Be Removed. And it was actually trending on Twitter by fairly early on in the morning and continued to trend the entire day. It took till today for there to be any news coverage of that whatsoever. And I think various people also remarked that there was despite the fact that it was trending, almost no mainstream arts organisations put anything on social media to say how much they appreciated the disabled artists and disabled people they worked with. So I think it highlighted some of the reasons why this campaign is being run, that fear that all of the progress disabled people have made in terms of working in the arts and participating in the arts is going to get lost as the arts kind of collapse and rebuild and everybody's fighting for the money. I think there's a real concern that people who are perceived as kind of perhaps more expensive or more niche, or indeed, I saw one person talking about, well, disabled artists make more challenging work and people will want to watch things that are much more comfortable. after the pandemic. So there seems to be all sorts of concerns. What was your take on it, Robin?
Um, well, I just thought the whole thing's really good. I mean, I'm completely behind the campaign in as much as, I mean, it's just a campaign we've been part of, and it's you know, for a long time. But yeah, I think making an issue of it at this point is really relevant to ensure that, like you say, we're not dropped off the bottom of the who we're going to work with ladder. Because yeah, you know, every, you know, getting work, being employed as a disabled artist, being employed as a disabled producer, a writer, director, or indeed front of house staff, um, is so much of an uphill battle. And we know that, but other people don't know that. And so it getting onto Twitter and trending on Twitter. I mean, I hold my hands up and say that Twitter is not something I'm absolutely au fait with. That might be a slight understatement. Um, but it'd be interesting to know kind of who was uh, accessing the Twitter, you know, the feeds that weren't from the disability arts community. I don't know if those kind of the analytics are out there at all. Um, but I mean, I saw a couple of pretty encouraging things, and it was nice to see things being retweeted that had been put up as well. So rather, you know, sometimes you feel when you're doing stuff, you put something up and then it's gone, and actually to see something that you've been tweeting and other people have been tweeting retweeted, then is at least a kind of, you know, a yeah, brilliant. Um, People are noticing.
I read that there were nearly 17,000 tweets generated
Wow.
in that time, and I think they were generated fairly early on. I know I added my tweet a bit later on in the day. I'd actually stuck up a little piece of work, which I very rarely ever do. But yeah, it was that's quite a lot of tweets, and I think that's why it was trending so quickly. But I so agree with Ju. I was so disappointed in the lack of support. I mean, where was the Arts Council? Where was, all the national portfolio organisations retweeting and supporting us? There was a massive opportunity that was lost, and I'm very, very disappointed in that.
I mean, I'm going back to the sunny side, which is the fact that it showed how many disabled artists and companies there are out there. But also, you had this wonderful snapshot. You know, there will always be this social media archive on that particular day
Yeah.
that shows you all of that work by disabled artists, which, has really very, very impressive, I think. And I was blown away by the quality, and it was also on Instagram and Facebook and so on. The quality and the breadth and the range of the work being made was absolutely stunning. It really was very, very good.
Mm.
But yes, I mean, I think there was. I have to say, I think there was some support from the Arts Council, but there certainly wasn't somebody sitting there all day retweeting all these wonderful things that they were funding, and they could have done. That's for sure. Did you have any perspective on it, Josh? I know you don't identify as an artist, but
I mean, similar to what's been said, I think it was really good to actually see it trending. It might not have been picked up as widely as maybe should have been, kind of as you mentioned, but just the sheer fact that something to do with disability and disability art was trending in and of itself is good. I think in the past it probably wouldn't have been, and I think you said it was 17,000 tweets. Yeah, that's an impressive figure to get on anything related to disability, really. And I think we're kind of embracing that social media side of things, to hopefully people retweet it, it reaches a larger audience, and maybe it didn't get the kind of the wider traction on the day, but you say it's been in the news today. Hopefully, it can have that snowball effect that it kind of picks it up, and you only need one person to see it that knows somebody or works with somebody, and yeah, hopefully the kind of back end of it can lead to some good things.
So I've got, in a very timely manner, a piece of disability art to just help us celebrate before we move on. And this is a sign poem by Sahir Khan, and it's called World. So I thought that was particularly apt today, which is also World Refugee Week, it's Learning Disability Week, it's Newham Heritage Month, it's Pride Month, and of course, last but by no means least, it's Juneteenth, which is a very, very important anniversary for Americans of colour in particular. So, first, we shall see Sahir Khan. This is World, and so I'm just bringing us back up because the internet does not seem to want to play that video at the moment. I can see it's not running terribly well, so I think we'll come back to that and try and play that a bit later. It was playing it beautifully earlier, so apologies, Sahira. We're going to try and get that to play again in a little while. Robin, you and I are dressed up to go out to stay in to celebrate the solstice with a very important festival. Would you like to tell us more about it?
Indeed, I would love to. So, as part of the lead into the Commonwealth Games in 2022, there's the West Midlands have a cultural response unit which have now started, ramping up towards the Commonwealth Games and getting people interested in the kind of West Midlands culture and making West Midlands culture a big thing on the map, not just the sport. And the first event of that, even given lockdown, is that tomorrow from 11 a.m. till 11 p.m. is what's called the Midsummer Festival. It is complete. It's a completely online festival, but it and is a mix of some live performances, which obviously would have been done in appropriately distanced ways, um, from some big names like the RSC, for example, taking part, and the Icon Gallery are taking part, um, and I think there are, and it's literally been pulled together in about 3 weeks, maybe four. There are 31 arts organisations presenting across that 11 hours, and the idea is that all the work that's being streamed is is launched in the first place, or shown in the first place in the stream, and then the hosts organizations, for the arts organization it's come from, will then also be able to stream that within their own websites. So as I say, it's called West Midlands. It's not. It's called
Midsummer.
It's called Midsummer, and Y Festival, which is one of my kind of projects, if you like, and Ju and I have kind of worked across that over in the past, has presented 4 poets, who are myself as Angry Fish, a poet called Cully Collie, a poet called Robert Punton, otherwise known as the Poet of Possibilities, and Joe Cook, all Midlands-based disabled artists, and identify themselves as disabled artists. And we have a 22-minute film or 23-minute film within the festival called Collisions and Contradictions. And you can find, I mean, the easiest way to get into it is I've made a full page on the Y Festival website, and as the homepage for it. The links will go up later, but it is www.whyfestival.co.uk, and there are links on there to the whole festival page. There are links to where the film will be once it's been played. There's also links to Together if you happen to go in that way. And I think it's going to be fabulous. And I think the really, really good thing about it is actually, one, that our piece is not the only piece from disabled artists. There's also an wheelchair dance crew who are doing a short piece. And the idea and the fact that it's been done in this is art rather than this is disability art, or this is liberation art, or this is women's art. those they will come through within the individual pieces. But I think it's fabulous that as a festival, I mean, kind of almost in contradiction in some ways to what we've been talking about, is they've just gone, this is art from artists who happen to be from this background or that background. But that's not what we're not promoting the background as such, because the art does that in itself. And I think it's going to be really exciting.
Yeah, it sounds absolutely fantastic. I mean, I'm just going to pick up that piece on, disability art and we shall not be removed for a minute. I don't think it has. I mean, I don't think anybody's asking for disability art as such to kind of be center stage, although that would be lovely. But I think it's just as artists and directors and producers and stage managers and sound engineers and composers and all of those things, people are just really concerned that there's almost like a stampede for jobs, isn't there? And that they're kind of going to be left behind or crushed under the rush if nobody thinks to ask those questions. And I think it's remembering to ask those questions, isn't it?
It is. I mean, then I was going to say, I mean, and that's kind of, um, if you like, it's wrong to say I've forced the hand, but I've kind of got in there and said this needs to happen. But also with the support, there's an organisation called BOM, BOM, in Birmingham, who said they're a disruptive arts organisation, and very kind of, avant-garde in what they do, but also very proactive in kind of ensuring that the wider population is represented in art forms. So they're kind of underpinning quite a lot of things that I'm now going to be getting involved with, which is great. And they are, and indeed looking at, who can produce what roles can be taken on, and kind of already starting the conversation of, from a disability perspective, but in a broader sense, access is not just about audiences, which is often the kind of festival planners' take on it. Is that, well, as long as we've got a platform, what more do you want? And it is, well, where are the artists? Where are the staff? Where are the security guards? Even at a festival, who are disabled people?
Yeah, I remember years ago going to a festival for the first time in a wheelchair. And the fact that one of the security guards was using a wheelchair just made so much difference. From the moment I got to the gate, I relaxed because I saw that guy using a wheelchair as well. And it's so important to everybody. You can't separate the audience from the artist from everybody else. Everybody plays that part. It's very much a kind of collective. Ultimately the arts are very much collective. It is about coming together to do things. Julie, did you have anything to add to the festival, or did you want to tell us a bit more about the solstice celebrations this weekend?
Um, I could. I mean, the festival sounds wonderful, and I cannot help but think I won't be able to wait until Monday morning because I'm going to be so busy all weekend online. My broadband stream is going to be humming with excitement and wonderful events. Um, I wanted to say just a little thing about the Juneteenth. Um, it was set up in 1965 when a Union general at the end of the Civil War in the States went into Galveston and proclaimed the end of slavery in Texas. The emancipation of slaves had been going on for about 2.5 years, but it wasn't implemented everywhere. And Texas was considered a far reached, well, it is far reaching, I suppose, today, but it's an outback at the time in 1865 of the United States. So it was really a bit behind everywhere else, which is much more in the mainstream. So that declaration was very important for the emancipation of the slaves. In truth, that wasn't the end of slavery per se, because it took until December the 6th of 1865 for the full implementation of the proclamation of emancipation for slaves. to come into effect across all of the at the time the newly formed joined union of of the American states. It took a long time um, for the day to be celebrated nationally. It took a long time for it to be recognized historically. And I think it says an awful lot about the civil rights movement in the 60s, particularly, that they pushed and pushed and pushed that these sort of days, memorial days, actually be recognized formally throughout the states and as a whole, and that there be some sort of celebration. Remember, up until the mid 60s, there was still segregation. There might not have been slavery, but there was still active segregation, particularly in the southern states. And it took a long, long, hard fight for that to be eradicated. And that was the point at which I really think that uh, memorials, led, of course, by Martin Luther King, were actually recognized as critical and important and having a massive historical value.
Thank you, Julie. Can I ask? I hope you don't mind. You were living in the States as a young kind of
Person.
yes, a young person.
I was
So,
young. I was young
yes,
once.
we
Yes.
are the 4 or 5 ages of isolation here, but you have personal memories of segregation. Are you able to share just one of them, perhaps?
Oh, absolutely. When I was going to junior high school in North Carolina, and then later in Virginia, uh, there was still segregated school system. There was different buses going to different schools with black children in them. Particularly, I went to a country school, and we used to watch the kids go past on their way to their black school. Um, and I can remember when I started high school in Virginia in Lynchburg. I can remember the first two black students coming into the high school of about 2,000 plus white students. The first two black students came in. I thought at the time I didn't really understand all the intricacies of it, but I thought they were so brave, and I was so struck by their bravery. And interestingly, it wasn't the students, the white students, who were protesting against their arrival. It was the parents. Unfortunately, happily over time, this has been continues to be addressed, but it's so deep rooted. I mean, we can see from Black Lives Matter and the Black Lives Matter campaign, both over there and here as well, that it's taking an awfully long time for us to change things as a society together. And I think it has to be us all working together to recognize not just the historical accuracy of what people are saying and the literal truth of it, but also to say, well, look, we can learn from this and we can do something different. Um, I worry sometimes that it, the racism is so institutional, particularly in this country, that it sneaks in other ways. I'm mindful that there's over 100 young people who were deemed to be illegal immigrants coming into Kent, and they're being held in a youth offenders um, institute away from everybody else on the grounds of COVID and the threat from COVID. But it means that they're isolated from everybody and nobody's looking out for them. And I think there's a level of racism there as well. Certainly xenophobia. But we need to be mindful of these things. We need to talk about them. We need to talk to each other about them so that we're all aware. And when sort of governments or legislators or powerful people with a lot of money behind them start to dismiss them, then we say, no, that's not okay. I'm not okay with young people being isolated from their families, from support networks, etc., and potential for help. In terms of mental health and actual health, let alone sort of like their human rights and civil rights being held away, shut away from everybody else.
Yeah, well, I think that brings us nicely on to World Refugee Week. And of course, the refugees who suffer most are the young people and the disabled people. And of course, sometimes those things can be one and the same. I certainly think it's very difficult to go through life as a refugee child and a teenager and to come into adulthood without mental health challenges, for example. Of course, we have quite a number of people deemed to be refugees or worse, failed refugees, failed asylum seekers. And there's a whole bunch of concerns at the moment. I mean, I've certainly been reading about the different schemes that are operating at the moment under lockdown and what's going to happen to people at the end of those schemes. It's interesting today that there's been celebrations because we have dropped from level 4, which seems to mean, oh my goodness, everybody's dying, but it's just about under control, to, well, we've still got an epidemic, but not very many people are dying at the moment. Doesn't actually seem to me to be that much good news. But in terms of the problems facing refugees, if we suddenly pretend that the whole coronavirus epidemic is no longer with us, then people are just going to be really left to die. And the whole kind of challenge of being able to stamp out infection and trace contacts, if people are not part of any system, it seems to be impossible to think how to do that. Do you have personal experience of what's happening with refugees in the West Midlands, Robin and Josh?
It's to a little bit. In fact, one of the artists that performed at the original Y Festival, the all dayer event, a couple of 3 years ago, was actually through the refugee community in Birmingham and was a disabled artist. And so I'm not entirely up to speed with everything, but we certainly have. I mean, but there are a number of refugee organisations or support organisations within Birmingham, including an arts one, which is, so there is stuff there. But I think the last kind of 2 or 3 years with the many more people that have arrived who should and correctly have refugee status. We talked about this kind of a couple of months ago earlier in the show, is that the living conditions and the cramped living conditions of 6 people in a room on 2 sets of triple bunks, which you can see as we used to drive past. Obviously, we haven't done that recently, but you just see, and they're all and they're kind of very, very enclaved, all collected in one place, and and so I can't see it being very beneficial, for communities like that at this time. I mean, I can't, if COVID is spread like wildfire in care homes, then I should imagine it is done exactly the same in refugee communities where the housing is just so ridiculously overcrowded.
Yes, I mean, I think some of this, well, it's like so much of this news that we're beginning to hear a little bit of what's happened in detail over the last few months, because there was very disturbing news today again about the much, much higher death rates for Black and South Asian people.
Yeah.
But I think we'll leave it there, and I'm going to try and play Sahir Khan's poem again. I have slightly reformatted it to see whether it will work and play a little better. So if you'll just mute your microphones, we're just going to have
Oh wow! And what amazing! I mean, I love sign language. I think it's such an underrated um, form of communication outside of the deaf community and those associated with it, because it's so expressive and so artistic. And when it's done within art forms, when you've got people who are good at it, um, in terms of actually using their BSL in an artistic manner and in a really expressive manner, it's really beautiful, and it often tells a story without even having to understand BSL.
I think that's right. I just need to apologise first, though, to everybody who's watching who cannot see very clearly, because I should, in retrospect, have voiced over that instead of switching my microphone off. We will make sure that the text of that poem is on our highlights and links page. I'm delighted to say that Sahir Khan has not only sent us two further poems to show over the next few weeks, but she's also one of the artists who's going to be performing in our festival with a brand new BSL story and audience event. So we'll be seeing much more of Sahira. Thank you very much. And I'm glad I managed to get that video to play finally. So it's time for something for the weekend where we recommend what to do when you're dressing up to go out to stay in. Julie, shall we go back and start with you? Because I believe you have all sorts of solstice recommendations.
Well, it's what's called an auspicious weekend. Um, Astrologically, it's the solstice, the summer solstice. I believe technically on the sunrise on the 21st, which is Sunday, but the English Heritage YouTube channel will be uh, giving us 30-minute feeds from Stonehenge, which is very, very exciting. They've done it on previous years, but this is I'm really looking forward to this because previous years I've always been too busy or whatever, sort of like distracted or whatever, to actually take the time. And given that it's sometimes very difficult to sleep through the night because of the heat, it's going to be a wonderful way of waking up and seeing what's going on at Stonehenge. Additional to that, there's something called an annular eclipse. Now, this is the point at which the moon is the furthest from the earth, and it gets between the earth and the sun. As the sun rises, it creates a ring of fire. So it's not a total eclipse because the moon is so small by comparison to a total eclipse. But the ring of fire is the annular eclipse. We can't see it, but there are a couple of websites that actually give you information about it, and it will be live streamed. Again, I'm going to go to YouTube. There's um, there's a couple of virtual telescope sites, etc., and I'm sure NASA is doing something as well. But I think going to YouTube is probably the safest way for me to be able to find it. Now, interestingly, it'll be coming through at sunrise, but not our sunrise. So I'm going to have to track down which sunrise I'm going to watch first before I see the next amazing sunrise. So this is going to be a weekend of two sunrises on Sunday, which is very, very exciting. The other thing is that there's a portal opened yesterday for a new call out to artists on climate. There's four commissions of £10,000 each. And I'm really, really looking forward to seeing what's being produced for that. The process is a continuous one. The portal's open now. It's being done by the host organisation, which name I've completely forgotten, so I'll have to go back to my notes. But they will be doing it alongside Common Ground. It's Common Ground. We'll be doing it alongside Arts Admin, and the closing date is something like the 19th of July. So check out the portal, have a little look inside it. They're welcoming. They're attempting to be more inclusive, and they're welcoming potential interests from underrepresented groups, which I think is often a very overstated term. But it does mean that there is the potential for people who might not necessarily be in the mainstream of either disability arts or arts generally to sort of have a look and to try and create something that is meaningful for them.
Let's come over to you, Josh.
Um, there's two key things this weekend. The first one, for all of the sports people that are watching, or not sports people, but you're that bored because there's nothing on TV at the moment because they've all run out of things they've recorded and can't film anything else. The Merseyside Derby, which is Liverpool the Everton, is on Sunday evening. It kicks off at 7, and it will be on. It's called Pick, which is owned by Sky. It's a kind of free channel. They're kind of showing that, which will be Liverpool's opportunity to win the title. So I'm going to be watching that one just because I want to see Liverpool win, but also craving some sport to watch. And then the other thing was I wanted to kind of go back slightly to the Play with Pride playlist that we talked a little bit about on Wednesday. I talked kind of briefly about the Outer Worlds. That was the game I'd played most recently. But then I've had a little bit more time over the last couple of days to kind of go through the site and find the much larger list of games that I believe is on the highlights page. Ju, is that right? Yeah, she's nodding.
Yes, we have a highlights page, which is a sub menu of our Together Unlocked TV on our website, together2012.org.uk. And each time we put up the videos that we've shown. So today we'll have Sahira's poem embedded, for example, and we have links to all of the things that we've discussed. So if you're watching on YouTube, just go over to the website together2012.org.uk, Together Unlocked highlights, and all of that information will be there.
Yeah, and I was going to kind of, there's a huge, a long list of games that are inclusive, a number of which I've played, and a number of which I spent far more hours than I should probably admit to playing. It's probably in the hundreds for some of them, but that is because they are kind of huge open world games. But some of the games, like the Mass Effect games and things like that, that are kind of open world, they're really story driven, and there's lots of other story driven games. But actually, if you can't play them because you don't have a console, or you're like dad and you're just a bit naff, and you don't have someone to dog you to turn around every 15 seconds, with a lot of story games, you can actually just go on YouTube and find kind of playthroughs of them, and so you can still enjoy the story of them. And then the final thing, on Refugee Week, they've had a whole series of things online all week of kind of arts events and things, and they are closing it. There's a closing party tomorrow night that starts at 9, and I think it runs to about 1:30 in the morning, which is a kind of online festival of music and DJing that's called, I think it's Global Adventures in Bass, which looks like it might be quite interesting. So I'm going to give that a tune in and get my groove on, I think.
Yeah, I mean, as we keep saying, speaking as someone who's spent a lot of time indoors for the last 20 years, life has never been so busy or got so many possibilities. I mean, I think one of the things about the solstice is it's what they're beginning to call slow TV, isn't it? The things you didn't used to have time to do that are apparently really popular. So you can just, people are playing just the usual thing, webcams on waves and lovely fields and things. But it is about, saying that there are benefits. There are benefits to being at home. There are benefits to shielding. There are benefits to being at home just because you're being sensible. And one of them is just having that time to look around and look at the stuff that is available that you just wouldn't have noticed previously. Did you have more that you wanted to say, Julie?
Well, there was just one more thing I picked up from a Guardian article, which is called the Chill Out Tent, and it's a 24-hour marathon of ambient beats streaming from various points across the globe between the 20th and 21st of June. It's finishing with sundown in Ibiza on Sunday. I like ambient beats, and I'm never too sure what they are, but I think I like them very much. You know, sort of
They're beats that are ambient. It's
like. So I'm going to tune in to that when I'm recovering from my two sunrise Sunday.
Okay, and then over to me. Just promoting a tiny bit more of Angry Fish. I there's a gig tonight. We have Birmingham has various local art forums based around the council wards, and our next door one is called Erdington, and they run a monthly what they call evening of creativity, and it's a very together type event, where they'll have some a table doing children's art, a table doing embroidery, somebody making craft wine in the corner, and then series of live performances. Now, obviously, that can't be happening live. So this evening from 7:30, I don't know how long. It's probably only 90 minutes or something. Again, I've sent the link to Julia, and Ju, you should have it as well. But me, as Angry Fish, has two songs, which are interestingly recorded. One of them is "We Will Survive," but I kind of tried to mash up some recording I did of it, um, and then playing the bass live and miming it in the best Top of the Pops esque manner. Um, so there's at least one line I do in the same ventriloquist style as I did the teddy bear on Wednesday. Uh, so that's all. I mean, and it's good. But again, as a body, they've kind of totally embraced Angry Fish, both me as an individual artist, but also Angry Fish as a band, which has historically been made up of four disabled musicians. And then, as I seem to be very keen on finding websites with masses of information, this week's offering is called prideinlondon.org. Um, I'm not sure if that's Pride as in Pride Month, or whether it's just about being proud of who you are in London. I couldn't find an about page, but it actually has a massive set of links, of events that are on kind of through June and July. But if you go, it kind of, lots of them will say, for example, Woof Woof by Naomi Westerman, if that means anything to anybody, is running from Saturday the 13th of June right through till June the 30th. As one. There's something called The Merry Wives of Windsor is being streamed currently at the moment. When the Birds Stop Singing, another one, and these are all free entry online events as well. So again, I would actually literally go on there and try and find something that is of interest to you, and try something new as well.
It's a funny old business, isn't it, Robin? Because I mean, you're highlighting so much that's happening in the West Midlands, plus London, of course, and we're looking at things coming in from all over the world. It's going to be a very busy weekend and
Yeah.
a very busy month to come. But it's a strange thing because I keep thinking, well, there's so much money being saved. I know people's jobs are going. I know all of that. The economic recession and people's livelihoods, as Ju quite rightly was talking about earlier on. But my goodness, it's so much more accessible, isn't it? Sort of like I am enjoying the online offer at the moment because there's just things that I would never have thought to do. I'm going to definitely dip into some of your West Midlands sites. They sound wonderful, and but at the same time, it would never have occurred to me. I would have just taken it in and said, "Oh yeah, that's nice. I hope you have a good time." But now
At least she's honest.
but now I'm thinking, well, I must have check that out. That sounds wonderful.
I
I'll
think that the issue
never.
with sorry, just to clarify, that what we have to try to fight against is that all of a sudden, all of these things that have been free and online
Yeah.
suddenly become increasingly expensive subscription services, because I think that is a potential danger.
Yes, and I think inevitably, if people move to switch to mostly delivering online, they're going to have to pay for it somehow. But
Mm,
certainly back in February, when we thought everything was going to be a little bit quicker and less severe. But we certainly embrace the idea of saying, as an organisation, we just really need to improve our digital skills. It's not how we usually work for various reasons, mostly because the people, say up to 50 people we work with on a really regular basis in our outreach program in Newham, have very, very limited digital access for financial reasons, and therefore there hasn't been that incentive to do it. I think just about everybody I've met virtually over the last few months has talked about their tech problems, and wherever we've started, we've all had tech problems because we've all needed to improve what we do wherever it was that we were starting from in the first place, and we'll need to continue. But I think for arts organisations and for a whole range of heritage and community organisations, it's been a wonderful opportunity to say there are other ways to reach out to people, and that if you can provide access to broadband and a device, then for huge numbers of people, older and disabled people who've had almost no engagement with art, culture, and the community, this could be the dawning of a whole new age. Clearly, we would like to have a balance, but the world will still be there in however many months or years' time it takes for it to be genuinely safe. And in the meantime, of course, we say stay home, stay creative, stay well. It's beginning to get to that point where we say goodbye and hand over to Robin to play us out for the weekend. Coming up next week on Monday, I'm delighted to say we've got two younger artists with us. Hazel Brill works 2 days a week as our very own youth development worker, as well as being an international artist in her own right. She's going to come and tell us how her workshop for young disabled people for Newham Heritage Month went this Monday, which I understand was very successful. And she's going to talk a bit more about what else we offer for young disabled people and generally what Hazel's doing. And then Jessica Starnes is going to tell us a little bit about the work she's going to be doing for the Together 2020 Festival, but primarily is going to invite you all to contribute to an audio installation she's making. So that's just a couple of the things that are coming up on Monday. Later in the week, of course, on Wednesday, we very much hope our virtual writer in residence, Penny Pepper, is back and well and with us, and we will also be talking poetry, spoken word, probably playing another of Sahira's poems, and so the week goes on. And I believe the following weekend is virtual Glastonbury.
And Pride.
I wasn't sure whether virtual Pride was the last weekend in June or because it very often takes place in real life the beginning of July, but we will work that one out and get back to you.
Yeah, we'll sort it out.
And in the meantime, we'll say goodbye from London. Have a great weekend.
Look after yourselves and thank you for coming.
And I will say goodbye from me, and then I will scooch out of the way to allow
the noisy one.
A nice musical outro.
Oh, this looks like the Together Festival tent, actually, with the logo on the top there. Okay. Hoping that this, as usual, hoping this comes across clearly. This is a song called Let Your Light Shine On Through. Scars, they cover me, things that you don't see, we all hide away. You gotta let your light shine on through. You gotta let your light shine on through. Hold your head up high, smile on through the pain. Show the world the fight you fought, where you are today, where where you are today. The people that you've faced, the person you've become, you are really showing them now who you are today, who you are today. Live the life you've always wanted, don't let your dreams drift away. Muster all your courage and fight, show the world your light, show the world your light. You don't seem to see me, you don't seem to know me, so why on earth are you? Why on earth are you judging me? Who on earth are you to judge me? Show them what you're really made of, show them how strong you really are. How you feel about yourself, how strong you really are, how big and strong you really are. There's nothing you can say to make me hide my soul away. There is nothing you can do. My love is true, my light will shine on through. My love is true, my light will shine on through. My love is true, my light will shine on through. Live the life you've always wanted, don't let your dreams drift on by. Muster all your courage and fight, show the world your light, show the world your light, show the world your light. Thank you and have a great weekend. Bye from Together Unlocked.